How much time do you spend visualizing or mentally rehearsing things that could potentially go wrong during your game? Well, in this episode, I want to go over how we can use this form of negative visualization to help us prepare for and anticipate things that might not go our way when we play. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Now, I was talking to a basketball player earlier today who's a college basketball player, and she and I have spent a lot of time throughout this season working on building her confidence and getting her to play more aggressively and freely. And she has a game today, and the game today is against a team who's a pretty good team within their league, and they actually lost to them last year in the playoffs. And she knows that because it's a good game and because of something that her school is doing to bring more people to the game, there will be a lot of people watching. Specifically, there will be a lot of other teams from her school watching the game. And as we were going through our coaching session, we were discussing how this is increasing the anxiety and the nervousness that she has leading into the game. Specifically because she was telling me that historically she hasn't played very well when other people that she cared about and people that she knew came to watch her play. And as we were going over this, we were talking about how that's mainly a result of when those people are there, she thinks more about them. She's not as focused on her game. She's thinking more about, not wanting to embarrass herself because they are watching, and all of those different things that could happen when she would make a mistake or if she would make a mistake because they're watching. Now, the reason we were going through all this is because it's useless for us to try to convince ourselves, or for her to try to convince herself in that situation, that she's not going to care about what they think. And I think this is a pretty important approach for us to take when it comes to our mental game, because we never want to try to convince ourselves that things aren't the way they are, right? If I know that I'm going to play in front of my, play in front of my family that's coming to watch me, I don't want to try to convince myself, oh, I don't care what they think. The truth is, I'm going to worry about what they think. And the same thing is true if, you play a team and you're trying to convince yourself, oh, I don't care because they're a really good team. I don't care about playing against them. I'm not worried about it. We don't want to try to convince ourselves that things are not true if we honestly know they are true. And in the moment, those feelings are going to come up because all we're doing is we are not preparing ourselves for how we will handle the situation. Right? And so with this basketball player, she and I then began to talk about how she can prepare for and manage the known worry and fear that she will experience because those people are watching her play. And this brings me into this idea of using visualization to help us prepare for unexpected challenges and things that might not go our way when we play. So I was doing some natural research, kind of reading through, past players and how they've used visualization. And Michael Phelps used this type of visualization a lot, where he would visualize things not going well and visualize how he wants to react to them. And this is also a pretty strong idea in the philosophy of Stoicism, because you're starting to think through and anticipate things not going well in order to prepare yourself for them so you are not surprised by them. And this is something that I love to use in one-on-one coaching, because the last thing that we want is to try to pretend like we're not going to feel nervous or we're not going to be afraid when we go out there and play because we're unprepared to handle it. But if we think through, okay, when I'm facing this specific team or when I'm playing and people are watching me and I care about those people, if I know that affects me and I know that that's going to distract me, I want to prepare for that because I want to think, all right, well, how will I handle it? And so with this basketball player, we then went through and talked about what she needs to do during the game to be able to redirect her attention back onto herself, what she needs to be focused on, and that's really what her strategy is for today. And so for yourself, the way that you can use visualization or mental rehearsal or simply just thinking through these ideas, the way that you can use that to prepare is that you want to think about anything that might happen during the game to distract you, such as making a mistake, or anything that might happen in terms of other people watching or playing a specific team that would lead to more fear. Sometimes this happens when you're playing a really big team, right? A team that's more physical, especially if you're playing a physical sport. There's an athlete I'm working with right now who's a rugby player, and he and I are talking about that very idea because when he faces teams who are bigger, he tends to feel more fear. So you would want to think through all these different situations and all these different reasons why you might feel more fear or more anxiety when you play. Then you want to start mentally rehearsing them. And you can do this a couple different ways. One way that you can use this mental rehearsal is simply talking it through to somebody. Now, this doesn't require you to close your eyes and visualize the situation, but this is what me and that basketball player were doing earlier today. You can talk to your friends, you can talk to your coach, you can talk to your parents, or you can simply write it down in a journal and kind of talk to yourself about this. But you go through and you think, all right, I know that this situation could cause me to feel more anxiety. Or I know that when I make a mistake, I end up feeling more frustrated and then I feel more fear moving forward. What am I going to do if that happens in the upcoming game? How will I handle that? What's my strategy for that moment? And you go through and you talk it through, right? And this is preparing you to be able to handle it in a positive way. And it's helping you remember how you want to actually respond in that moment. You can also use this as a visualization where you close your eyes and you imagine what could potentially happen. And this is one that you can do, and it's very helpful if you're visualizing yourself making mistakes. Now, I know this can seem kind of weird, because why would you want to visualize yourself making mistakes? Well, it's not that you're just imagining over and over and over again yourself failing and failing and failing. It's that you're visualizing yourself making the mistake, and then you're continuing with your visualization and seeing how you want to respond to that mistake. So let's say that you are a shortstop in baseball and you visualize yourself making an error. You would continue to go through that visualization, and then you would visualize yourself, getting the ball, throwing it back to the pitcher, resetting, thinking whatever you need to think to get yourself feeling ready to make the next play. And then you would visualize the next ball hit to you. You would visualize yourself making that play, throwing the guy out at first or turning the double play, whatever it ends up being that you're doing. But you would actually visualize yourself responding positively to the mistake. If you're a golfer, maybe you visualize yourself hitting a bad shot, keeping your composure, walking to the next shot, and then hitting yourself a good shot, so bouncing back. The idea behind anticipating these things that could happen, so anticipating any sort of, fear that could happen, any sort of, situation that could cause you to feel more anxiety, any sort of mistake that would cause you to be more frustrated. The reason we want to do that is because when you know how you will handle these situations, you don't need to be as afraid of them anymore. And the more you go through and actually visualize and mentally rehearse and talk through and think through how you'll respond and handle each one of these moments, the more likely you are to actually do so in the moment when you're playing the game. And that's honestly the most important time to be able to do it, because you need to be able to, redirect your attention off of the people in the crowd who are distracting you. You need to be able to bounce back from mistakes. You need to be able to handle frustrations in a more positive way. And so we don't want to pretend like mistakes don't bother us. We don't want to pretend like the people who are watching us don't make us nervous. We don't want to pretend all that, because we're not doing ourselves any favors. We want to accept that those things do affect us. We will feel fear when we play. We will feel nervous. We will feel frustrated. We want to accept that, and then we want to strategize and figure out, what am I going to do to be able to handle that? Whether you use the mental rehearsal, you're talking through to other people, you're writing it down, or you use the visualization. Go through and prepare for things that could potentially go wrong, things that could upset you, make you nervous, make you afraid to play. And make sure that you are prepared and you know how you're going to handle those situations, because that's going to give you confidence when you play. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training. And if you're interested in any of the sports psychology programs I have available, I've put links to those in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.